Hey y'all, it's Linda. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I already hate this video. So I saw this idea on Betty Jean's channel, Baddie Bean, where she went over her eyeshadow palettes and she looked at each brand that she has and she said, if I had to declutter one palette from this brand, which one would I do? I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was a fun idea. And then as soon as I sat down to do it, I was like, I hate every minute of this because I don't want to get rid of any of these. I'm pretty good about decluttering stuff in my collection that I don't like. So if I have it in my collection, that means I like it. So you're asking me to choose which one of my children I want to sacrifice. And this is just messed up. If this is your first time to my channel though, hi, my name is Linda and I am a cruelty-free beauty YouTuber, and I always want to help you decide whether or not makeup, skincare, hair care is worth your money, whether it's drugstore price, luxury, high-end. I just want you to spend your money wisely. Also, I am on my very first low buy year, so I'm trying to be really careful and really cognizant about what I'm bringing into my collection, quality over quantities. So if you're into that, I would love if you'd hit the subscribe button and become a part of the Rockstar fam. But what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be looking over my collection, and any brand which I have 2 or more palettes, I am deciding which one, if I had to, if I was forced to choose one to go, which one I would declutter. Oh, also, I always get questions about this shirt. This is my Anxiety Society shirt, and I absolutely love it, but I did buy it at like a punk rock flea market, and it was a seller on Etsy who has now discontinued their shop. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you where to get it, but I love that all you can just see is the word anxiety, because we are going to start with Colourpop. So I have a good amount of Colourpop palettes. I don't have as many as a lot of people do. I know there are some people who have dozens upon dozens of Colourpop palettes. I think I have like between 6 and 8 Colourpop palettes, somewhere in there, because I have decluttered a lot over the years. But if I had to declutter one more, it would be this one. So this is the Cabana Club palette. You can tell I dug my big fat finger over there into it, but this was a nice palette. It is a nice palette, but when I look at my other Colourpop palettes, like my So Jaded and At Forest Sight and Yes Please, when I look at those palettes, those immediately like warm my heart and spark joy. This one is just kind of there. It's decent, it's okay, but if I had to pick one to go, it would be this one. Honestly, this might be one that winds up getting like cut, getting actually decluttered when I do my declutter sometime in the middle of the year, because I really haven't used it a whole lot. And when I bring something to my collection, I want to be using it. So honestly, a pretty palette, but this is probably the one that would go. Let's jump into a little bit of a more bougie brand. So I do only have 2 palettes by this brand, and that's Viseart. I have the Warm Edits and I have the Petite Pro Un palette, and the one that I chose to go would be the Petite Pro Un. So I did get this in, I think it might have been BoxyCharm. No, it was Ipsy. It was Ipsy. And this color store, oh damn, see, this is where I'm going to do this. I'm going to open up all these palettes that I'm like, that's it. I'm decluttering this palette, and I'm going to be like, oh, but it's so pretty. So I do think this palette is so pretty. It's got like, especially this burgundy color on the top, that matte burgundy. Oh, I love it so, so much. If I'm being honest with myself, when I'm looking at a very, very warm tone palette and then something like this, I'm going to reach for a warm tone palette 10 times more than I will reach for something like this, because like, especially when I look at, maybe it's this color that throws me off, this purple. If I cover up that purple, no, it still is quite cool toned. These browns are cool toned browns. It is very, very, very pretty, and I am going to keep it in my collection, but I think that it just, when I look at it against the warm one, this is the one that's got to go. I'm so sorry. You're not going anywhere. You're not actually going anywhere. I'm just telling people that I would get rid of you if I had to. What? So I'm not for all of these going to talk about all of the palettes that I have from that brand, but this is one that I definitely wanted to. So for Tarte, this is a brand that I used to absolutely love. And it's not that I don't love them anymore. It's just, I guess they don't excite me as much as they used to. I only have 2 palettes from them at this point. So the first is the Tarteist Pro Remix palette, which I don't ever hear anyone talk about. And it is just, oh, it's really good. It's really good. There's only 3 mattes. You only have a black, kind of a neutral tone brown, and I guess a highlight color. Everything else is an ultimate like metallic shimmer. These are all really, really, really gorgeous. And the other palette that I have is the Tarte Foil Finger Paints. So you only have these 4 shades in here, and one of them is even split in half. So which one of these would I choose to get the chopping block? So the reason I chose this one, as much as I love these colors so much, is because this is one of the most unique palettes I've ever owned. These, I just have to show you. So this has unfortunately been discontinued, I will tell you that, but these are just so incredibly wet looking, and I don't understand why this palette didn't succeed. Look at the way that catches the light. Again, if I can find this, I will link it down below, but it's so beautiful, and it's so unique to my collection that unfortunately, I guess this one would go. I don't want to get rid of either. I don't want to get rid of either, and I'm not going to, but if I had to choose one to go, it's this guy. And I want to try another one of these foil paints. Look at that. These are so ridiculous. Now here's another one that was difficult for me because again, I only have 2 palettes from this brand in my collection, and that's Juvia's Place. I don't know why I thought I had so many Juvia's Place palettes in my collection. So the 2 that I do have are the Nubian palette, which is neutral, warm tone with some shimmers in it. I mean, I have a bunch of palettes that look like that, and also the Wahala 2 palette, which is full of, you know, very foiled jewel tones like blues and purples and silvers. The one that I chose that would get decluttered if I had to is the Wahala 2 palette, which I feel like is going to surprise some people, because why would I choose a boring neutral palette over this? It's because that boring neutral palette is one of my favorite boring neutral palettes of all time. That is my, like, I take it on vacation palette. This palette is stunning, and to be honest, there are shades in here that I can't match with others in my collection. So if they're unique, why would I get rid of them? I'm questioning every life decision I've ever made. But no, that other palette is one of my all-time favorite palettes, so I have to keep it. I have to, but look at this. Look at it. Oh, I'm not going to swatch these all, but this is such a beautiful palette. I wish it was still available, but this would be the one to go. Moving on, let's do a toughie. So I have a lot of Urban Decay in my collection. I really do. I really do enjoy the Naked palettes. I know a lot of people think they're crap, and I did declutter a whole lot of my more unique Urban Decay palettes, like the Alice in Wonderland palette or the Butterfly related palette. I did declutter those because I wasn't using them as much, or the quality wasn't what I wanted it to be. I had the Born to Run palette. I did declutter that. So the ones that are in my collection now are ones I really love. And this was really hard for me. So I had it between 2 palettes, and the one that I did choose that I would declutter if I had to was the Naked Heat palette. So I still adore this palette. Look at that color story. Oh my God. This really is like fire to me. It is straight fire, and I love this one. But when I compare it against my other Urban Decay palettes, so we have the original Naked palette. Oh my God, love it. We have the Naked Honey. You all know I feel the Naked Honey in my loins. The one that I had this between was this or the Cyber palette. And the reason that I chose this one is because, if I'm being honest, I do have these in my collection elsewhere for the most part. There are some unique shades in here, but for the most part, I do have this in my collection. That Cyber palette is pretty damn unique to my collection. It really is. And those colors, like, they shift in certain ways. So this one, as much as I adore it, this would be the one to go. That was a very satisfying snap. Oh, by the way, as I'm doing this video, I want you all to comment down below and let me know, for some of these brands, if you have a lot, which would be the ones that you declutter? Because I know a lot of us have a bunch of Urban Decay palettes. I know we have a lot of Colourpop palettes. Let me know which one down below you would get rid of if you had to, if you were forced. And none of us are being forced to get rid of it. If it brings you joy, keep it in your collection, but I think it's a fun little debate to have. Okay, let's dip into a more difficult category for me. As a lot of you may or may not know, one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow brands is Natasha Denona. I do have several Natasha Denona products, and they're ones that I really only bring into my collection if I really like them, because not only are they more expensive, but they take up a lot of space, and I don't know, I don't bring things into my collection if I'm not really into them. So this one was really, really hard for me. But at the end of the day, if I had to declutter one Natasha Denona palette, it would be the Ayana palette. So this is one of the 5-pan, I'm not even sure what size these are called. I mean, there's the mini palettes, there's these palettes. But as much as I love this, I do have to admit to myself that it is a cool tone color story, and I don't reach for it nearly as much as I should. And with my low buy year, that's kind of one big thing that I'm trying to do is really appreciate what's already in my collection. I even have an itemized spreadsheet that I made where I've listed out every single piece of makeup that I have, and I'm writing a date next to it to show when I've used those, because at the end of 6 months, if there's something in my collection that I haven't used for 6 months, there's a chance that it might be on the chopping block for my declutter. But I digress. All that to say, I haven't used this one nearly as much, and I really do enjoy this color story. I just need to dip into it more, but if one Natasha Denona palette had to go, it would be this one. But I mean, I don't know why I'm getting so dramatic about these. None of these are going. None of these are going anywhere right now. They are staying in my collection and in my heart. Yet another difficult one for me. So one brand that is sort of new to my collection is Nomad Cosmetics. I only have 2 palettes by them. I have the Venice Simplon Express and the brand new Whistler Snow Lodge palette. So between those two, if I had to get rid of one, it would be the Venice Simplon Express. Though I do freaking love this palette. It really is almost like a proper rainbow palette with one multi-chrome in it. The quality of Nomad is just so damn good. It's so brilliant, and I'm so happy that I've gotten to try them within the past only like 3 months. But if one of them was going, it would be this one, because the Whistler Snow Lodge palette is just so unique to my collection, and it's a color story that super inspires me, which is what I look for. I want to open a palette and feel inspired to create several different looks. If I look at a palette and for the most part I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to put that in the crease and that on the lid and that's fine for some of my palettes. For some of my really neutral palettes, that's what I do. But if it has lots of color in it, I want to feel it more inspired. So as much as I love this palette, if one had to go, this would be it. We are down to my final 2 brands, ladies and gentlemen. We need to talk about Melt Cosmetics. So I think a lot of you know that Melt is my favorite makeup brand. I was going to say my favorite eyeshadow brand. They're my favorite makeup brand. I feel like they're super innovative. I love their products. I haven't come across anything yet that I've hated. There are things that I like more than others, but it's really hard for me when it comes to eyeshadow palettes because I love all of them. I love every single one that I've tried. I've decluttered one palette as of right now, and that was the Muerte palette, and not because I didn't like it, but because I wasn't using it enough and I knew that people really wanted it. So I really wanted somebody who was like desperate for it to be able to use it. But everything else that's in my collection, I really enjoy. So which one do you all think I got rid of? If I had to choose one, gun to the head, what I had to get rid of, it's going to be the 420 palette. And I'm shocked at myself for saying this because I am still, oh my God, I'm so in love with this color story. The reason I chose this one though is because I know a lot of people hate this palette. They have like a visceral hate for this palette. I do not. But when I'm looking at the other Melt palettes, this one takes a bit more patience. You have to really sit with this and be patient with it and build these colors up. Whereas with the other ones, it's like one swipe and it's gorgeousness. Like today, I have Melt on my eyes. This is just the Smoke Sessions palette. This took no time at all to get this pigment, to get this rich opacity, to get this blending. Whereas this, you have to take time with it. And sometimes I don't feel like taking time. Sometimes I feel like doing a one and done or an easy blend job. So that's the reason that this one would go. But that being said, I still do really love this one. And I know a lot of people compare this to the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes palette, and that is still one that I really want. But with my low buy, I'm really trying to not buy it just yet. It's killing me inside. It's killing me inside. But anyway, if I had to get rid of one Melt palette, it would be this. And finally, we are going to talk about Kaleidos. I only have 2 palettes from Kaleidos, and this is one where I decided to bring out both of them. So I do have the Club Nebula palette, which was the collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, which is just these kind of rich jewel tones, a lot of really dark mattes. And we also have the Flower Punk palette, which is just like grungy but springy and so unique. So out of these 2, if I had to get rid of one, which one do you think I got rid of? The answer is neither. I'm not getting rid of either of these palettes. And I know that's cheating. But guess what? I only have 2 and I am obsessed with both. I can't even look at these. Like, I sat and stared at them and I was like, okay, look, you have to choose one to get rid of, because that's the whole point of this video. You have to choose one, and I couldn't. One of them is just such deep, dark tones that I really, really love, and it's a unique color story. The other one is also a unique color story with the quality that's amazing. No, I'm not getting rid of either. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So there you have it. Those are the palettes that, if I had to choose one palette from each brand that I own, those are the ones that I would declutter. And again, chances are I'm not decluttering any of them actually, or maybe I will. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, because in June, I've talked about this, I'm going to be doing probably the biggest declutter I have ever done, because I am going to be ruthless. And again, I'm going through my collection and I only want to keep things that spark incredible joy, quality over quantity. I don't want to just have a collection just to have a collection. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. But that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love if you give it a thumbs up. That does help out my channel. You all can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those are all GlitterFallout. I'm making lots of hand gestures today. And as always and forever, you are super freaking rock stars, and I love you so much with my whole heart. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.